KBR's Kellogg Brown and Root, former subsidiary of Halliburton, who got $7 billion of no-bid contracts. And anytime anybody went to investigate them, including Bonatine Greenhouse, because that was her job at the Pentagon, to make sure our money wasn't being wasted or that our troops weren't harmed by the private companies that we were hiring, the Rumsfeld's office would come in and shut it down. They shut down the investigations, and eventually they demoted her. They're being sued left and right. One of the suits is from a person named Joshua Eller. He was a civilian who worked for the U.S. Air Force in 2006 at Balad Air Force. It's a base in northeast of Baghdad. And he said that KBR, quote, knowingly and intentionally supplied the U.S. forces and other individuals food that was expired, spoiled, rotten, or that may have been contaminated with shrapnel or other materials. Now, that sounds pretty bad. But when you get into the details, it's much worse. So, here it is. KBR supplied water. This is a quote from his lawsuit. Supplied water which was contaminated, untreated, and unsafe. He said Halliburton and KBR shipped ice served to U.S. forces in trucks that had been used to carry human remains and that still had traces of body fluids and putrefied remains. You know, they carry dead people with the ice because they need the ice for the dead people. And they think, we're not robbing the American people enough. Let's reuse that ice, even though there are putrefied remains on the ice, and they serve it to our soldiers. These are the guys who then turn around and say, support the troops. Support the troops? Look at what they did to the troops. Let's go to another case. 16 members of the National Guard, the troops themselves, from Indiana, have filed suit against KBR. Why? Because they've been poisoned. They put what is called hexavalent chromium poisoning. They had that in the water that they served them. And what would happen is such things as bleeding from the nose. It's known as chrome nose. It's a common known effect. And they'd say, hey, you've got this material in what you're serving us. And KBR would say, we assure you that we don't. And you're probably allergic to the sand. You're probably allergic to the sand. And so when the troops complain, hey, they're putting hexavalent chromium in the materials, they're literally poisoning us. Why? It's cheaper. They're going to make more money, right? Because they're private contractors. They don't give a damn about the troops. They don't give a damn about the government. They're looking to make the bucks. When they asked the Pentagon to investigate it, guess who blocks the investigations? Don Rumsfeld, hired by Dick Cheney, former CEO of Halliburton. Man, what they did to our troops is a crime, man. And this is the tip of the iceberg. We've done stories before on it. We're going to do stories on it again. The stuff that they put in the water and the food, it was disgusting. And they never gave a damn because they knew they had a blank check. They'd get a no-bid contract from Cheney and Rumsfeld, and we have emails from Cheney's office saying, give them the contract, right? And they knew that Rumsfeld and Cheney would cover them on the backside. If they poisoned our troops or they put body parts and shrapnel in their food or the ice that they served them. And there's shower water in other cases, in other stories we've done, where, again, there was leftover waste. So the water from the toilets they'd use in the showers to save what? Cents? They save cents? And then they charge $100 for doing laundry out of a pair of socks. Man, they robbed us blind, and they treated our troops in the worst possible way. And then they went, in 2004, Cheney and Bush, and ran a campaign on support the troops. They literally didn't support the troops, they poisoned them. Look, there's a reason why we have the system that we do. And I hope that these lawsuits rip them to shreds. These companies, if they go under, I'm ecstatic about it. You heard me right. I'm not in favor of frivolous lawsuits. I talk about it all the time on the show. But I'm in favor of lawsuits that actually uncover things that need to be uncovered. Because if you don't have lawsuits like this, the bad guys win. Rumsfeld and Cheney and Bush, they covered up, and everybody goes home, they get their money, and our guys get poisoned. I mean, literally, I can't say it enough. They got poisoned, man. So they can make an extra couple of dollars. And the one recourse we have in this case is civil lawsuits. Now, what's the court going to do? Oh, you Indiana National Guardsmen. that served your country. Screw you, who gives a damn? I don't think so, man. I think there's some chance that justice is on the way. And if it means a company, a greedy, terrible, malicious company like KBR goes under, I couldn't be happier. And I'm not even talking about other things that KBR did. You remember the stories we did on the women who would work for KBR and they'd get gang raped? They'd put roofies in their drinks and gang rape them and then put them in metal containers with armed guards so they wouldn't report it? And they'd destroy the evidence afterwards? Oh boy, what if KBR went under? But the problem is by the time they go under, if they do, right now they're still thriving, right? All the guys who did all that stuff, they'll have already taken the money out. They'd have gotten paid, and they'd have gotten their compensation, and they got their houses up in the rich areas, and their boats, and their planes, etc. And then they'll say, oh, look at that, the company's bankrupt. All of your lower employees, you don't get your pensions anymore. You don't get anything, and you're done. But the rest of us, well, we already got paid. Man, sometimes there's no justice.